Welcome to the Credit Risk Management Advisory Podcast, where we focus on managing asset quality and borrowers during economic downturns. Today's credit risk memo tool is Cultural Enhancement for Divergent Views. At creditrma.com, we help sharpen regulatory credit risk rating and evaluation systems and support a credit culture that respects all internal stakeholders and every commercial loan borrower. We also examine key creditor tools to improve outcomes. Let's dive in. Okay, there are several objectives for this session, and the first is that we want to have a team approach, managing credit risk together during stressful economic downturns. Next, an open culture, building on a credit culture that values and welcomes documented divergent views. And finally, monitoring frequency and thresholds. Achieve timely and accurate credit risk ratings, an efficient process, through the watch list report and the criticized loan report, monitoring frequency and thresholds, and recommendations to retain or exit credit relationships. There are two major expectations from this session. This one is for senior management. Very, very important. Encourage people to express their divergent views in writing, not just vocally, but so that there is a documented analytical discussion on file in a safe and respectful environment. And all other stakeholders, more fully exercise your responsibility to document your independent opinions by using supported and well-documented facts to support your own conclusions. Think ownership. Stressful times. Pressures and stresses happen because they are real. First thing, be understanding. When creditors face an economic downturn or worse, pressures and stresses build quickly. Senior management has a huge job pulling and fitting all the pieces together to make the financial institution work. It is a massive responsibility and task. They handle matters that others will not even be aware of. They need to keep the ship sailing in a safe and sound manner. Employees need to be patient, professional, and understanding because a lot is happening. A lot is on the line. Everything is on the line. Normalcy, the way we've always done credit risk management, can suddenly feel like it is shifting to the primary relationship officer or even a credit administrator. Things may not make total sense. The normal approaches and all, they can become delayed and even ignored, and top-down pressures can be exerted. Not everyone will or needs to be aware of everything that's going on either. How about signals? Are signals present? However, as pressure builds, indirect signals or messages can take place. For example, these signals may be directed at the usual processes used for the timing and accuracy of identifying, measuring, monitoring, and controlling credit risk. Decisions and their timing cost the creditor money that may not readily be there. But frankly, that's senior management's problem. Everyone else must do their job under the ordinary course. Notwithstanding, pressures come. As a result of such downgrade timing delays, for example, unwarranted credit risk can build up quickly. Regulatory scrutiny will increase. Senior management and the board may ultimately be required to take immediate corrective action. But that doesn't mean it can become a period of intense headaches as the stakeholders each try to do their jobs. It's a rough time, right? Economic cycles seem to always come, and these stressful times come along with them. It happens all the time during each cycle. But note the changes in signals and messaging that come during an economic downturn. You may feel your usual voice and level of participation in credit risk discussions may be stifled, or worse. Be respectful and diplomatic and professional. As a primary relationship officer or even a credit administrator, this can be a tough period in your career. Pressures and stresses can be forwarded onto your shoulders. Through these times, it is imperative that you be professional, diplomatic, and respectful, if you have a differing opinion about credit risk from others. Hopefully there is a culture where you can even share your thoughts and your written credit analysis freely. However, that is not always the case, especially when the creditor is under stress, like I said. Depending on where the culture is, you can best serve if you stick with documented and supported facts, conclusions, and recommendations. Your calls, as only you can see them, may even become to look more like divergent views from the signals and messaging and messages that from senior management. You can tell. For several reasons, these new stresses and pressures and approaches in handling increased credit risk may change. But that does not mean you can or should change your actual thinking as a primary relationship officer or a credit administrator, even though the signaling and the messaging can be compelling. The creditor needs independent thought, no groupthink, and analytical opinions, whether it realizes it or not, because the facts are facts. You know the facts because of your documented due diligence work. Management still needs those facts to make appropriate decisions, even though these facts may cost the creditor, if you will. The primary relationship officers and the credit administrators need to continue to do their jobs and let senior management do their job, despite the new signals and messaging that you'll feel and that can come when the creditor can't afford to address credit risk under the ordinary course. Hence, rigorous loan discussions based on documented analysis, monitoring, and reporting should continue to be the norm during stress periods. This is a good thing. Okay, well, what about if there are truly differences of opinion? More specifically, as far as the timing goes for things like downgrades, risk ratings should be timely and accurate. But what if they are actual or perceived as actual pressures to delay a downgrade to another quarter or past year end, resulting in differences of opinion? It happens often. Who is going to ask the deep dive questions that nobody wants to ask or even answer? Who will be expected to answer them? How will any of this be documented? Should or will it even be documented? Will regulators be critical of the creditor for not being timelier and more accurate? Is there a reasonable period where downgrade dispositions can be made without being criticized by the regulators? What if there are differing opinions as to the timing of a downgrade and the risk rating itself between the primary relationship officer, credit administration, or special assets, in senior management, or even credit review? Finally, in those cases where it is perhaps culturally improper to speak up and share your own opinion, like you're not the boss, it's disrespectful to speak up, you're supposed to recognize the senior person's authority and expertise, and so on, senior management should remind all the stakeholders that it is expected that they can, should, and will share their own documented opinions about credit risk. That is one of the key reasons that they're getting paid. But why have divergent views? Why not just agree with what the senior officer wants to do? What is the real picture, though? In seeing a complete picture, okay, it is best to follow the credit policies and guidance, right? If you want to get rid of a wart, you cannot just shave off the top of it and expect it to go away. The remedy requires that you get or treat to the root or the bottom of the wart so that it will go away once and for all, once it's properly treated. Similarly, when we have a problem credit, we need to understand the facts. We got to get clear to the bottom. We can't just shave off something off the top and eventually get to the root cause of the problem so we can apply the appropriate remedy and action plan. We need to get to the facts, and differences of opinion are beneficial to this process. It's everybody's input, their divergent views, which gets us to the bottom of the problem. So, seeing a different picture, right? Say, for example, the primary relationship officer writes up a watch list report, WLR, or a criticized loan report, CLR, and obviously states the facts that he or she sees them. Or at least that is what is supposed to happen. And what if another officer at the institution, be it from the credit administration or the special assets department or even senior management, sees things differently? How do the stakeholders handle such a matter? How does it get resolved? How do they achieve consensus if one person sees the facts differently than the next person? Is that a bad thing? No, that's a good thing. That's what we want. That's what should be expected. Okay? Seeing what others are seeing. Imagine a culture where divergent thinking is encouraged, say in a watch list report or a classified loan report, in such a meeting where viewpoints and solutions to important matters are freely shared. Things like carefully listening and asking questions about another's point of view, respectfully challenging the so-called facts by asking deep dive questions and even brainstorming. This is where and how we learn and understand from each other in a culture or environment that is safe and respectful. This is where each stakeholder genuinely feels comfortable sharing his or her opinions. And I said it genuinely feels comfortable. Good and rewarding work happens in this environment. The credit risk ball. So roll it around the table. The credit risk ball or the risk rating, okay? Ask, how do you see it? And document the facts. In short, the facts are the facts. Decisions should be based on facts. Facts should be documented in writing, particularly with the watch list report and the criticized loan report, that reporting process. It documents the facts. When stress comes to a creditor, pressures build quickly, and it's real, and it matters. Facts can be pushed aside, though, or in some cases, even ignored altogether. But responsible parties, like the primary relationship officer, credit administration, special assets, and even senior management, should all have a seat or voice at the table. And as the credit risk ball that I mentioned, or the credit rating risk disposition, it's rolled around the table to such stakeholders that there's a distinct possibility not everyone will identify with the presented facts, but each has the responsibility to offer their own documented facts as each sees them. So if there's a divergent viewpoint, document the facts as you see them. And there likely are and likely will be and should be differing opinions and points of view, however large or small, when it comes to credit risk. As the credit risk ball rolls around the table, each sees the ball from a different point of view, right? Some see it a little more closely than the other ones across the table. There better be different points of view. So when differing opinions arise, like I said, the primary relationship officer, even an analyst or an underwriter, they're responsible for documenting the facts as they understand them accurately, fully. Don't leave anything out. A properly completed watch list report or a criticized loan report will ensure the facts are documented. At a WLR or CLR meeting, the other stakeholders, especially senior management, may have different opinions and views and perspectives and so on. They may differ from those presented in the WLR or the CLR, and the primary relationship officer will use the WLR or CLR and defend its position by the facts given. Okay? It's documented, so there's going to be a robust discussion. And after that discussion, if there is consensus, then the watch list report or the classified loan report can be amended and resubmitted by the primary relationship officer. Well, what about the final call, the documented call? However, if the primary relationship officer just can't get there and still disagrees with other opinions after presenting, the individual that has the divergent view from the original WLR or CLR, they will prepare an addendum to the WLR and CLR, which will be placed in the file. The lending officer with the highest credit authority may make the divergent view call, if you will. In other words, their view is divergent to what the original reporting shows through the memorandum process so that there's a clear transparent audit trail, if you will, for any changes to the watch list report or the criticized loan report recommendations. Because there are decisions that are going to be made. And those reports need to document what those recommendations and decisions are after they're presented and discussed. But the primary relationship officer doesn't need to change its WLR or CLR. It's that the changes proposed by a more senior officer will submit its own addendum to put on top of the WLR, and that's how it becomes a bona fide decision. Okay? And that goes into the file. Like I said, either way, the file will reflect a healthy, rigorous debate, if you would, or discussion, and evidence, and provide evidence of a culture that respects divergent views. If desired, in such a case, the matter with differing opinions can be escalated all the way to the credit review function for their final call to validate the best conclusion. But that's the beauty of it. The primary or the officer or the credit administrator will have their points of view. That's documented. It shows the facts. If senior management comes in with a divergent view, fine. Put an addendum on top of that and send the whole bundle off to credit review for their final call. And they'll see this whole discussion. That's the value. Think of the learning that takes place. In the end, the WLRs and the CLRs, the addendums, the memo will serve as a transparent audit trail. This short ad is sponsored by the Debt Crisis Problem Podcast. Attention, listeners. Please join us at tunabudget.com to tune into the Debt Crisis Problem Podcast, where in plain English, we discuss the 20 risks that could soon fuel a serious economic downturn. We explore these critical risks through practical insights for navigating financial uncertainty. Join us for thought-provoking discussions that encourage transparency and awareness. Subscribe now to stay informed and be ready for whatever comes next. Some additional reminders for senior management, okay, for a few moments. The employee appreciation the real way. Valuing and appreciating that a human being employee is real, not pretend, not a machine or some kind of servant, but real people. How do employees really feel? During periods of economic stress or not, creditor management should often anonymously survey their employees to gauge how well things are going, culture-wise, and they do. Generally, accountability should reside with senior management during good economic and stress times. But what does the lending relationship and management look like in the eyes of the employees? How does the average employee truly feel like management thinks of him or her? Does senior management take credit and large bonuses, right, during the good times, and blame and burden and cut bonuses and even lay off other people during the bad times? Senior executives at financial institutions often make more in annual bonuses than what other employees will earn in their entire 40-year careers. Millions. Does senior management even have a clue what the average employee is feeling in terms of being valued and sincerely appreciated, money aside? Would it not be interesting to know employees' true thoughts and feelings about senior management? What would they really say if the employees expressed how they really felt with no fear of getting fired? What would it be that they don't like about senior management? Many believe the so-called anonymous surveys are not so anonymous, as they later learn that feedback somehow makes its way back to the department managers. As you know, it can and it does. It is likely that in every place of employment, and regardless of the supposed values that the company lists on their website, there are plenty of supervisors, managers, directors, and senior leadership that many employees would want to avoid altogether. Why? Because the employees are not truly valued, appreciated, or adequately recognized. That's why. Believe it or not, respect goes both ways. Employees are dedicated and come to work each day to work hard. They are real people. each and every one of them. Preference can't be for the favorites that went to a certain school. So what is your company's real employee evaluation and appreciation culture by senior management, notwithstanding the Pulse survey results? Do all employees, even those who offer divergent views, feel truly valued and appreciated by all of management? Let's drill down a little deeper. Is it real or virtual appreciation? Is more actual, real human appreciation needed? Sometimes out of those surveys, management will focus on improving employee-to-employee relationships. Even though pretty much every company states or identifies its employees as its greatest assets, do all employees feel that way? Probably not. And why is that? A few bad managers, supervisors, or an overbearing executive officer or two? Maybe it's a heavy-handed, top-down driven culture? Probably. What is behind any so-called employee dissatisfaction? Do all employees at every level truly feel valued by others, and especially senior management? Does senior management even care enough to genuinely show human-to-human appreciation? Or would it rather just punt the whole thing and go to the quarterly virtual appreciation list route? Like putting someone's name on a virtual recognition bulletin, say, with a few dozen other names? Does senior management really believe this is supposed to be genuine appreciation because they're too lazy to do it right? How many view this as being mechanical? Employees might say that virtual recognition is not real appreciation, that it's a cheap farce. Others will brag that their name made it onto a list for the whole world to see, that somehow makes them important. A cheap sellout, maybe? Those who accept this nonsense don't know what being personally valued and appreciated is all about. It may work for a piece of machinery or for a season, but not for a human being and for the long term. How hard is it to stop by and express personal appreciation to an individual who has accomplished something noteworthy without the rest of the office seeing it? Apparently, it's way too hard. It's so sad. Some people focus too much on their millions. And what about when mistakes are made by employees? When unintentional mistakes are made, how does management react? How does the employee feel about it? Is there an unforgiving culture where an employee might feel his or her name is now on a Santa's naughty list? Does the management culture demand so much time and effort from its employees that mistakes are effectively not allowed to even happen, even at the expense of an inefficient process? For whatever reason, however, mistakes do happen. Eggs hit the floor. Such mistakes are good opportunities to improve a process or practice if they're handled properly. Management should use mistakes to not penalize and punish the employee, but to use them as learning opportunities to improve a process in becoming more efficient. Mistakes allow the stakeholders to build increased trust in each other when mistakes are handled as a learning experience. It should be a real team environment that everyone can feel when mistakes can even be valued as a key learning opportunity and for improvement. Again, mistakes have to be made in order to improve a process. In the end, staff employees at every level need to be valued and appreciated in a culture that fosters divergent views and learning opportunities from making mistakes. This new culture is necessary when proactively monitoring asset quality during an economic downturn. Here's just a little list of benefits in an enhanced divergent view culture. There's 20 of them. Innovative solutions. Divergent views can lead to innovative solutions that may not have been considered otherwise. Better decision making. Divergent views can help decision makers consider multiple perspectives and make better decisions as well. Improve risk management. Divergent views can help identify and manage risks more effectively. Increased creativity. Divergent views can stimulate creativity and lead to new ideas. Improved communication. Divergent views can improve communication and collaboration among team members. Increased engagement. Divergent views can increase employee engagement and motivation. Better problem solving. Divergent views can help identify problems and find solutions more effectively. Increased adaptability. Divergent views can help organizations become more adaptable to change. Better customer service. Divergent views can help organizations better understand and meet the needs of their customers. Improved performance. Divergent views can lead to improved performance and productivity. Increased job satisfaction. It'll increase this is done by giving employees a sense of ownership and involvement in the decision-making process. Better employee retention. Divergent views can help retain employees by creating a positive work environment. Increased diversity. Divergent views can increase diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Better conflict resolution. Divergent views can help resolve conflicts more effectively. Improved morale. It can improve morale by creating a sense of community and shared purpose. Better leadership. It can help develop better leaders by encouraging them to consider multiple perspectives. Increased transparency. By encouraging open and honest communication. Better organizational learning. To help organizations learn from their mistakes and improve their processes. Increased accountability. Great. By encouraging employees to take ownership of their work. And finally, better organizational culture. Divergent views can help create a positive organizational culture that values diversity, creativity, and innovation. Well, there you have it. Thank you for joining us. Today, we covered a culture of divergent views, another essential tool for managing asset quality and commercial borrower relationships. We want to hear from you. Submit your own credit risk memo at creditrma.com and share your insights on navigating credit risk, including special risks in commercial lending. If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe for updates on future podcasts at creditrma.com. Until next time, let's continue to conquer credit risk challenges. Thanks again.